Hello everyone and welcome to Design and Quilt Monthly. My name is Mark Garretts and I'm a National R&K educator. And this month we're going to be going over artwork, what it is, how to create it, how to use it, and other things. It's going to be a multi-part series because there's a lot to cover. So we'll cover the first part this month and we'll continue on for as many further episodes as it takes. So first of all, fundamentals, what is artwork? Well, artwork is basically shapes and lines. These shapes can be open or closed, and obviously a line is open. Artwork is another term for vectors. So if you've heard the term vector artwork, that's the same as what we call artwork in Design and Quilt. Artwork shapes and lines are defined by points with lines that connect the points together. So that's how we create shapes, by putting in points, and then those points are connected by lines. The lines can be either straight or curved. Now in Design and Quilt, you can create your own artwork from scratch. You can import vector artwork in a variety of formats like SVG, for example. You can use the built-in geometric shapes like rectangles, circles, and so on. You can also use built-in complex shapes that we give you, things like birds and dogs and hearts and a variety of things. And you can also modify either imported or the built-in artwork. Now, that's what it is, but what do we use it for in Design and Quilt? Primarily right now in Design and Quilt, we use artwork to create appliques, but we can also use it to create stitching, for doing things like quilting stitching, etc. But those will be more advanced things. But for now, we're going to focus on using them for appliques. But this is a good set of lessons because the plans are to increase the use of artwork in things that you can do in Design and Quilt. So I've gone ahead and opened up Design and Quilt, and if you want to follow along, you can do the same. The settings are not real important, so it doesn't really matter if your screen looks exactly like mine, but it should look close. So to start with, as you know, if you've been following along or using Design and Quilt at all, Design and Quilt has two different types of screens. One is this screen that it opens up to, which is where we do our designing of things other than quilts and quilt blocks. And then it also has a quilt block mode. So if I open up a quilt block here from the library, let's just open this log cabin, it changes to a different mode. And the artwork tools, which are located right here, are grayed out. So you can't actually draw in this mode. You can bring in a pre-built shape, what we call custom shapes, which are right here, but you can't draw in your artwork tools. You have to be over in the other mode in order to do that. So let me go ahead and close that quilt block, and now these tools are mostly lit up again. So starting from the very left-hand side of the artwork tools, which are located again right in here, you'll see that the first tool is called Line, and it is grayed out right now because it works in conjunction with this tool, which is the Pencil tool. Now, the Pencil tool can draw lines or shapes in a variety of modes, and the mode is selected over here. So in order to get this to work, the first thing you have to do is click the Pencil tool, and then once you do that, this lights up, and there's a little drop down here. If you click it, you can choose the various drawing types. Okay, so let's go over those basic drawing types real quick. We're going to go over them in more detail in a later lesson. So the first one you'll use is the Line tool. So go ahead and click that. And the way that works is if you click anywhere in this window here, you're going to put down a point. So if I click right here, I put down a point. And if I move the cursor somewhere else and click again, I'm going to put down a second point. And if I keep doing that, I'm going to keep adding points. So I keep doing this and I'm adding points as I go along. I'm not making anything very exciting, but you can see how that works. To end entering the points, I right-click on the mouse. Now you can't see me doing that, I apologize, but I'm going to right-click on the mouse and that ends this set of drawing lines here, these lines. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to select mode by clicking my select. That selects this, and I'm going to delete this by pressing the delete key on my keyboard. So I want to show you another mode that it works in. Once again, if I click the pencil tool, I'm already in the line mode, so I don't have to click it again. And what we went through before is if I click points, I'm getting what we call straight line points. Okay, every line connecting these points is straight. If I want a curved line, I will hold down Control on my keyboard and then click and let off the mouse. So it's very important that you press Control, click and let off, and then release Control. Or you can keep holding down Control if you want to enter a series of curved points. But the important thing is that once you've clicked your last point, you have to let off the mouse and then let off Control. Otherwise, it will think it's a straight line point. So let's go ahead and add some curved line points. I'm going to hold down Control and left click my mouse. And now you can see I'm curving around. Okay, so I'm adding these curved points, and then I'm going to let off the Control key, and then I'm going to right click on the mouse to lock those points in. So that's basically how the line tool works. All right, so let me go ahead and delete that. I'm going to press delete again. And let's look at some of the other tools that are under this mode. So if I click the drop down, I have a choice of line, I have pen, I have Bezier, I have arc, and I have curve. So let's skip these this middle three here and go straight to curve, because curve is very similar to the tool that we just used, except it's backwards. So that means if I click, I'm going to start entering curved points. So I'm just left clicking now, I'm not holding down Control, but if I want to input a straight line point, I will hold down Control and click it, and you can see now I've got straight line points, and if I let off Control, I'm starting to enter curved points again. So that is the difference between line mode and curve mode. They're basically the opposite of each other. So if you know you're going to be entering a lot of curved points and not very many straight points, you might want to switch to curve mode so you don't have to keep holding down Control as much. Or if you know you're entering a lot of straight line points and not many curve points, you'll probably want to use line mode. So let's get rid of that again. Okay, now let's look quickly at a few of the other modes. So I'm going to click the pencil tool, and let's look at pen mode. Now pen mode, I don't have a tablet connected to my computer, but if you have a drawing tablet or you have a laptop that has a drawing pen, you can freehand draw on the screen. So I'm going to use the mouse, and I'm just going to move around like this, and I'm just clicking and dragging with the mouse. And if you have a pen, you would just click and or just touch and drag around, and then when you let off, it puts in all the points. Okay, so it tries to minimize the number of points that it puts down. All right, and so I can click again. So there's no right click involved with this. If I just let off the mouse, then it continues. But you see it connected them. So if I wanted a separate one, I would then right click to end that, and then I would click and draw again. All right, and right click on the mouse to end that point. So that's what pen mode does. Not all that useful for me, at least with a mouse, because I'm terrible freehand drawing with a mouse. But if I have a laptop or a drawing tablet, that's what this mode is good for. So let's get rid of all that. I'm going to do a Control-A to select everything and then press delete. Okay, so I'm going to click the pencil tool one more time. I'm going to click the drop down. And this next mode, this is called Bezier mode. This is an advanced input mode. If you come from the world of CAD software or software like Adobe Illustrator, this is the mode that is typically used by professional drafters that use computer software. And the way that works is, a Bezier, by the way, is a term named after a famous mathematician who invented this mode of defining curves with something called Beziers. So when you click a curve point, you're actually inserting a Bezier curve point. So this is just a shorthand way of doing it. If I just click and move, it works just like the straight line tool. Okay, but if I click and drag the mouse, so I'm dragging, I'm inputting a curved point, and so I can, input these curved points. It's very hard to control if you are new to it. I'm not very good at it. I hardly ever use this mode, but some people like it, and if you're, again, used to things like Adobe Illustrator, then this is the mode that you typically draw in there, although they've added some simple drawing modes now, so it's a little easier for people like me to use. So I'm going to click that. We're not going to spend any time on the Bezier tool. And then the last tool is, again, clicking the pencil tool, and it's this tool here. It's called the Arc tool. And the way this works is you click a point, and you click another point, and you click a third point, and it's going to create an arc between the two. Now I clicked them all on the line so you can't see much of anything. So let's right click to end that one. And now I'll click here, click up here, and click down here, and you can see it draws an arc. So it basically draws a perfect circle between all those points. So if I wanted a shallower arc, I would just make it shallower, but you can see it's continuing to draw arc lines throughout. So this is kind of a cool drawing mode for drawing more perfect arcs. So basically it's a 3-point arc. So I'm going to press escape. That gets rid of what I just drew. So if I click a point and I click another point and I click another point, that creates one arc. Now if I click another point, I'm not going to continue to arc to here. I'm going to create a straight line. So if I come over here and click a point, and then I come up here and click another point and another point, I'm going to create another arc. So every 3 points, it creates that arc. Okay, so if I want to continue to make these scallops, I would just do this. Okay, so every third point, it creates an arc. And the arcs will go basically the direction of that middle point. So I want to come back here and make another arc that's sort of inside that one. I can do it that way. So just play with these tools. You'll get a better feel for how they work. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select everything again. I'm going to draw big rocks around it, select it all, and press delete. And then the last thing we want to look at here is the built-in geometric shapes. So it starts out with a rectangle. If you click it, you will get a rectangle shape, a circle shape, or an ellipse, a triangle, a pentagon, and a hexagon. So those are the built-in shapes. Let's look at the rectangle first. If I click it and then I click and drag, I'm going to get a rectangle, and where I move the mouse depends on the size and proportions of that rectangle. So I can make it anywhere I want, and if I wanted an exact size, I'll show you how to get there at the end of this lesson. But if I want a perfect square as opposed to a rectangle, if I hold down Control while I'm dragging, I get a perfect square. And again, it's important to let off the mouse and then let off Control. If I do it the other way around, so if I hold down Control and drag, I get a perfect square. If I let off Control, see what happens? It goes back to a rectangle. So if I hold down Control, then let off the mouse, then I get a perfect square. All right, so that's the rectangle tool. The ellipse tool, or the circle tool, works basically the same way. If I click that and click and drag, I'm going to get a circle. Okay, and I'm going to start from the place where I click. All right, so I'm getting an ellipse. If I don't hold down Control, if I hold down Control, I get a perfect circle. All right, so I get a perfect circle. And the other tools work basically the same way. I'm going to delete that. Let's look at the triangle tool. Again, not holding down Control, I can make the triangle any shape I want. If I hold down Control, I'm going to get a perfect triangle. Okay. Let's go ahead and delete that and look at the rest of the tools. They basically are all pretty much the same. This is a pentagram. Again, I can make it any kind of shape I want. If I hold down Control, then I'm going to get an equal-sided pentagram. And again, with a hexagon, it's exactly the same. So I probably don't need to show you that one, but I will anyway. So here's my hexagon. If I hold down Control, I get a perfect hexagon. If I let off Control, I can shape it any way I want to. All right, so now what if I want one of these shapes to be an exact size? So let's go ahead and do the square or the rectangle, and I'm going to make it so it's not a square. All right, then I'm going to select it. Then over here in the Properties box, I can click the Transform tab, and here I can control the exact size that I want. And right now I'm in inches because my ruler here is in inches. If I prefer to work in metric, I can right click on it, the ruler, and select metric. And then this will be in metric over here in the transform. All right, if I want to go back to inches, I can go back to inches. So let's say I wanted to create a 4 by 4 inch square. I would come over here to the transform. All right, and then I've got another box here called Maintain Aspect Ratio. What that does is that keeps the ratio between these two numbers the same. So if I increase one, the other will increase to match it. Not what I want to do to create a perfect square, because I want to independently set these to 4. So I'm going to uncheck Maintain Aspect Ratio, highlight the height and put in a 4, highlight the width and put in a 4, and then click Apply. And now I've got a perfect 4-inch by 4-inch square. So that completes our lesson for this month. I invite you to come back next month for the second part of how to use artwork.